Oh no, sorry guys, we dropped. And I don't know why. But I'm in a different room just in case that helps anything. um Actually, you know what I might do is put in headphones. Maybe that could help because you guys were saying that we should have done that. Sorry. I'll bring my I did not do that on purpose. It was not purposeful. Sorry, guys, but it didn't save, so hopefully you're there. Michael, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, nice. I have my AirPods in. I don't know what happened there. The app just crashed on me.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
I
Sorry.
apologize.
Well,
And then it was like, oh, okay, Brittany's no longer live, so you can blame it on her, I guess.
yeah, blame it on me. Everyone loves to blame it on me. Well, you know what? Anybody who was there had exclusive content because it crashed and now it's not saved.
Oh,
So
saying they can't hear you.
can't hear me.
I
Oh, maybe that might be. Can you hear me okay?
I can, but
Because you're breaking up really bad. What? No, it goes over an hour because I've done longer ones than that. That might be, you know what? One thing though is you can hear me okay, right?
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, they're saying
Oh,
we
we
can.
can hear you now. Okay.
Perfect.
It's delayed. It's delayed. The comments
Ah,
are delayed for some reason. So, okay, let's just get this back up and rolling. And then,
yeah.
um, let's see. Let's just keep it lighthearted too. So, if you ask a question that's hard hitting, that's not this. uh, huh, I kind of like this one. Let's talk about this, Michael. Oh no, actually, you know what? Let's not talk about it because if we ever did play together, we don't want to let people know what we do.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're not going to answer that actually. Let's see. Oh, that one's just about me.
Well, for a question, I'm gonna. My cat has been rubbing on, so this is
Can
my
I see?
fun. Say hi to her if you want,
Oh
but
my gosh.
she wants attention. Well, she's of course now that I gave her attention, she acts like she doesn't want it, but
I've seen so many pictures
yeah.
now in real life. This is so great. All right, let's see. What's one that applies to both of us? We don't want to talk about PCOS. Do. We probably shouldn't talk about auditioning. We can talk about this. What's one thing you wish you did differently that changed your fate in the game?
Oh. Well,
Hmm.
let's just say I can never shut my brain off. So like, there's gonna be so much that I'm always gonna be like, oh, what if? What if I had done this? What if I had done that? I will say my number one, the way that I can like get over that is like, okay, any mistakes that I made, if it somehow helped Taylor win, I can live with that.
That's true. And we know everything fell into place as it did. If one thing would have changed, the butterfly effect, who knows what would have happened. So, yeah.
The one thing I will say though is I think I don't know, for myself, for my own personal game, I think I was gonna go. I don't think I was getting to the end of the game no matter what. Losing that double eviction veto, I don't think there was any way that I was gonna get to the end. I think, and like, because if anyone on the block had won, you would have pulled yourselves off. I would have gone up. Anyone else would have won. I think they would have tried to make that same move. So for me, I think the thing that I regret is not taking Monty out because I think you would have won the final four veto if he hadn't been in the game. And that's what I regret. That I was like, even if I don't think there's something that I could have done for myself, I wish I would have could have left you in a better spot.
Although, Michael, I honestly think, because I mean, I know how they edit it, and I know we talked about this, but I would
Mhm.
have finished that veto in like a fourth of the time. Like, they make it look like it was close. It was not close at all. It was that 1 day difference. And I went 30 trips back and forth because I thought it was my math.
So to tell you the truth, if Monty wasn't playing, I think I just would have made myself go crazy for longer until Taylor or Turner or whoever else, hopefully you would have still been in there and then we would have been good, but like somebody else would have won. I just was so certain. I just been studying the wrong day all summer.
Oh,
like that was just the thing.
Like, it's obviously nothing that we could have done about it, but like leaving in the double, I've said, like, if you and I were on the block against each other for an entire week, like, I would not have left that house before knowing that you or I, whoever was staying, knew those days backwards and forwards. Like,
I think about that though, Michael. How would it have been though if we were up against each other for a whole week? Let me just say this: I wouldn't want to have been up against you for a whole week.
I mean, I would have definitely tried to stay and I would have pitched and whatever, but like for me,
it would have been a miserable week.
And a horrible week. But knowing that one of us was leaving, I would have wanted to study together and be like, we know what's coming. Like, because at that point, it's like it's the situation that we are in. We have to campaign against each other. But even if I go, I still want you to go far. So like I would have wanted to study. But
yeah. No, I would have too. And that would have been interesting because of course we think about the double eviction and what a crazy thing that was. But I think there's so much that they don't, obviously that the episode. Have you watched that episode, Michael? Have you seen that one?
I didn't watch the whole episode, but I did watch my eviction. I watched I watched me get put up through that, through the eviction. It was like,
and it's really those two episodes because you know how they do the double eviction. They just show spots and then they show you the juicy parts the next episode.
Yeah.
But just how that all happened. I mean, we knew it was going to be a tight one to get through. We knew you had to win the veto. I mean, I even remember. So that was the rope one, right?
Yeah.
There was a moment. I don't know if you recognize. There was a moment where you were very much in my way because we were right next to each other, the lanes. But I was like, you know what? Like, this is best case scenario. Like, Michael, you get through here. You're gonna have a better shot at winning this one. Slash, if you win, I knew you would use it on me. I knew we'd both be okay. That was the only way we were both going to be okay. Even if I would have won this thing, we both weren't going to be okay. And so that was funny. And then I just remember you turning to me after you lost. And you're just like, I'm sorry. Because you knew what the next 20, 30 minutes is going to be.
I mean, I figured I was going to go home, but I remember, like, when I was saying sorry, I was like, I'm sorry I didn't win. Like, I remember being like, I tried.
I know.
Like, because I just felt like I let us both down in that moment. Like, so.
No.
On that same note, like, because I have had this thought too. Like, if I had taken Monty out, I feel like Turner probably would have just put me and you up against each other. Like, I feel like because he was like the guys thing kept me okay with Turner for at first, and then Monty was like, no, we're not doing that. But
yeah,
again, hindsight's 2020, butterfly effect. Who knows what would have happened? But it was like, like I've had so many times where it's like, if I would have just, I don't know, stayed calm and won that thing, who knows what would have happened. But
I know. I guess it went so fast, and then it was just so surprising, and then it was just kind of crazy. So one thing that you wish you did differently that changed your fate in the game. So I'm sorry, you already answered that?
Yeah,
I
think.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think looking back at it, I know, especially that week before the double eviction, I know I was having a lot of conversations that was to try to figure out what position we both were in. Yeah. And looking back at it now, like, I was sitting pretty. I actually was okay. Those conversations probably weren't needed as much. And so that, and then it got, messier. So maybe looking back at that, just trusting that we already kind of knew we didn't need to get any sort of, to solidify that. We knew that Turner was going to come after, we knew that Monty was going to come after, that maybe I just didn't need to have those conversations quite as much to bring back that intel. Unless we were going to do something with it, and then that would have been something else. But, I don't know. Who knows how things would have gone differently regardless. So again, you can't, I know. Winning more than one of those final 4 competitions after you left. Like, seriously, like, I will say that watching back the episodes I might have shed one tear watching back an episode of just watching how close I got on some of those last competitions and just thinking how that would have changed everything, But you can't do that. Things happen for a reason. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy. Oh my God, look, there's 80 questions, Michael. Let's see. How long do you want to go? Because I know we've already done this whole part too, so we're not ever going to answer
Oh,
any of these. Let's
right,
see.
brother. So
Yeah, right. This is fun, and I like talking. I miss getting to talk with you all the
yeah.
time. Let's see. Let's see what people have answered. I don't really want to talk about negative things, so I'll delete that. Why is it hard to confront tough questions? Because we're having fun here. And believe us, we have talked about, if you want to see us talk about tough stuff, there are plenty of interviews where that has been the case. Not today, not here. Let's see. I'm just curious to hear your thought process on this, Michael. What was going through both you guys' heads when Michael left without hugging anyone? What was describe why, did that just come to you in the moment? I know I've heard you kind of talk about this a little bit in an interview that I watched of yours, but what was going through your mind saying that? Because it was iconic.
I don't like when someone gets evicted and then they do the, oh, it's okay, hug it. I don't like that. So like, honestly, the only two people I would have wanted to hug on my way out were you and Taylor. And I don't think you wanted to hug.
At that moment. You gave me a hug, though. Do you remember? You gave me a hug. I don't know if it was before we got nominated or after in the hall, like right before the kitchen. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That made me feel better that I was like, okay, I actually did give Michael a hug before he left. Right then, but.
And then I was like, hey, well, I'm not going to only hug Taylor and leave. So like, I'm just going to leave. And I don't remember, like, I think like as I was sitting there, like, what do I say so that nobody even gets up? Like, I just want to get, I was like, honestly, too, in my mind, I was like, you know what, if the faster I get out of here, the more time I get on stage with Julie. So, so I was just like, I'm just going to go.
I loved it. And you know what's so funny? We missed you'll see in the episodes, we missed your picture going dark.
Yeah.
Because everyone was consoling me.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's, one thing that people were telling me after was like, some people like on Twitter were saying like you were unhinged, Michael, because you were like, because yeah, oh my gosh, it was like a roller coaster. I remember like I'm pleading with Turner, don't do this, I blah blah blah, and then I go up and I'm like, okay, now I got a campaign, and then I went in with my speech, and then I'm like, everyone sit, and then I get out on stage and like I know I just like, oh my gosh, it's Julie, and it's just like all over the place. So.
Were you spiraling?
Oh yeah, I see, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, everyone had like a week where they, you know, come to terms with their going home, and then like I had like 2 minutes, and I'm like, I went through that whole range of emotions and messiness that everyone goes through when they know they're the target and walking out the door. It happened to me in 5 minutes rather than.
I couldn't imagine that. And then it also, I think that's really important for people to recognize that it is like, for people like you and I who care about this game so much, I don't know if everyone feels this way, but it is a grieving process. There's anger, there's disbelief, there's sadness, you go through all of those emotions, and to go through that all at once. I mean, my brain could not keep up with all that was happening. I know it's so silly. You and I were just so focused on what it'd be like to get to the final 2 chairs that we never really discussed what it would be like to sit against each other on the block, what that would look like, what that would feel like, what would be said, what wouldn't be said. These were just never things that I had ever crossed my mind would even happen, which is stupid to think back on it now. We should have been prepared for this, but we're very much like, okay, here's what we got to do to just stay.
Yep.
And I think, of course, in my moment, and you know this, but in my head in that moment was like, Michael, you're bringing up conversations that I told you about before the people that we had them with told you about them, like that. And that was part of our strategy, that I was going to talk to people saying, yeah, Michael's got to go, but we know that that's not the case, so that they would open up. And so it felt like, oh, here he is using information that was part of both of our games to throw me under the bus, just unexpected in that moment. Yeah, which is a game. I mean, I understand. I laugh about it. That you are a great game player. I wish I would have said some shit too. I guess I just knew that I didn't need to.
Yeah.
You were gonna go.
Yeah, you probably didn't even give a speech. You could have just like,
I just been like, yeah. You guys know. You guys know what to do. It didn't really cross my mind that I would be leaving, which I guess I should have been more scared about that, considering that I was in such a, a shit position after you left. But it was just like, yeah, no, I always knew that you'd go before me. And so then when you went, then I needed to be scared. And that's exactly what happened, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I know. I look back on it and I was like, in like the 2 minutes I had to think, I was like, gosh, like if I don't throw everything at this speech, I'm going to regret. I'm always going to be like, what if I had said this would have changed? I wish I would have just focused on my pitch to Taylor and Alyssa being like, I'll take out these two for you. Because that was really the only thing that probably would have really mattered. I don't think anything else I said would have shifted the balance one way or the other. And I think, like
Yeah.
with time to actually think, I'd be like, okay, I probably should have just used those extra 15 seconds on what else I would do. But so
That's true. And I think that was part of the reason that I was hurt in that moment was like, dude, like, don't you realize nothing you could say is going to actually rectify why you were leaving, which is that you were just so good at this game and the comps and your jury management and all those things, that saying stuff about me ain't gonna help you. It's just gonna leave me in a sucky position to fend for myself out here. But I will say, my 2 post-Michael weeks, ooh, they were fun. They were fun because it was like, I don't trust any of y'all. Like, my main person is gone. I'm gonna fuck some shit up. Like, we are gonna try some stuff. Didn't really work successfully, but man, it was not emotionally fun, but like game wise, it was so liberating that it was like, okay, Michael's situation in the game is my situation now. You're only here as long as you win. So let's try to win some stuff. And thank God I pulled out 1 veto, but and you're just like, okay, what do I do to increase my chances of winning? And that was pretty much, people, you know what? You can call it spiral. I don't care. It was just trying to fuck some shit up because you know what? You're in Big Brother and why not? And you're in that position. You don't have anything else that you can do. There was no more social game left, but luckily enough, we were down to the wire. Like me flipping the vote on Taylor. I knew that she would still, there was no repercussions to that because in her mind, she still wanted me there and I still would need her there if she stayed in the house. And so there was no backfire. And she even says the same thing. She's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if Brittany's lying to me or not, because I'm still going to take her to the end. And, when you're at that point of the game, people are like, why would you go against somebody you're working with? And it's like, who's winning now? Like, or who you can win against. At a certain point, it shifts,
When there's so few people, eventually it just becomes, who do I want to get to the end with? I don't care what they're saying, what they're doing. If I want to sit next to them in the final 2, that's what I'm going to try to make happen.
Exactly. And that was kind of right. Like, you left right before we hit that shift in the game where it was all about who wins. And I mean, that was the time, if anyone wanted to win other than you, they needed to get you out. But still, it just sucks for you and I to that timing, that was the timing, in that moment. But so that was what was going through both of our heads.
Yep. Oh, there's one other last thing I want to say about the double eviction that I think is really funny. I saw like someone put together an edit of everyone's eviction. And everyone is like there in their nice clothes and makeup, and then I'm there in like sweatpants and my hair's like all crazy from like rolling around on the ground outside doing the rope thing. And it was just like, I thought that was like really funny to watch. Like, everyone got to leave looking their best, and there's me like wide-eyed, like, what is going on in my but
that's hilarious. Oh.
But I never had to pack my suitcase while I was in the house, so I will take that as a win.
That is true, because that was not a fun experience to have to do, multiple times. Although we did a shit job of packing your suitcase. I already told you this. I was in the DR when they packed you up, so I knew where most of your stuff was. And I come back out, I was like, guys, there's a whole drawer here. How did we miss this? Come on now.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know, like, if you leave in a double eviction, or like Joseph leaving from Dire Fest, so we leave the house and all of our stuff is still there. So the people remaining in the house have to pack it up for you. And this is the thing that makes me laugh about it, is that Alyssa had been on the block that night. So all of her stuff was packed in case she had been evicted. All the clothes in that room were mine, because only me and Alyssa were the only 2 in that room. Like, how did you see half of the clothes and not realize these are Michael's clothes, because they're obviously not Alyssa's, and no one else is in here? It's like, they missed half my stuff when they packed it up. I eventually got it back, but
And it was so funny because, you know, production comes back and says, Michael's missing this and this and this. And like the way they worded it, I was like, this is coming directly from Michael. Like I could like, it like sounded like the way you would describe what was missing. And he says it is right on the third drawer and the blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, we know exactly what this is. Yeah. And it's funny because what they did pack was, so Michael celebrated a birthday, I'm sure you guys saw, in the Big Brother house. Which actually I want to talk about this moment because it's my favorite moment in the Big Brother house. But he celebrated birthday, and because, you know, one cannot get each other gifts, I cobbled together a friendship bracelet out of garbage bags and letters torn from a cereal box because we cannot write in the house. And I gave it to Michael for his birthday so he could have a birthday present. Well, when they were packing your bags, they're like, "What is this thing?" They found that bracelet.
Like in the back, because I didn't want people to find it because it had our alliance name.
I know, like, it had the initials of our alliance name on it.
So I didn't want anyone to ever find it, and for the longest time, I had it in my zipper in my duffel bag. But then someone like took it to do, or because we would put our laundry in it or something, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I could find this." So I was like, "Where else can I put it?" Like, no one's gonna go here. What like? So I hit
through your stuff. I mean, you were already out of the house, so it didn't matter. But then I was like, oh shit! Like it was just really funny. It was like it became very clear, like the moment you got out of the house, like, oh, Brittany and Michael, like everyone had to have known how close we were. But I think especially with Taylor too, that like, and she knew that we were closer of us three, even though we did have a final three. And that was kind of the situation that we were in. That it was like, okay, I have a final three with Monty, Taylor, and me, and I have a final three with you, Taylor, and me. And Taylor's closer to Monty, and I'm closer with Michael. And so then either way it shakes out, we'll be okay. Except for Monty didn't honor our me as part of the final three. That was the part of the plan I didn't anticipate.
Final three.
None of it, Monty.
Hey,
right? Yeah, he got second. So, all right. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say because we were talking about your birthday. Can I tell them my favorite moment of the house?
Yep.
Okay, so my favorite moment of my Big Brother experience, the funniest moment, was something Michael said, which was right before his birthday. So this was back during the Festie Bestie twist, and we had realized that, oh shit, we're not insulated. If we get put up on the block, there's somebody that isn't from outside the leftovers in our group that we could make sure goes home instead. Like we were really at a disadvantage because you picked to be with me because we were friends, but also you're in Post pack at the time, and you were insulated in that sense. Well, when that alliance blew up, in terms of leftovers, we were an uninsulated pair. And Joseph and Monty managed to get insulated with Terrence. You know, Taylor was insulated with Alyssa and Indy, but Michael and I did not have somebody outside the leftovers to join our pair. And so we thought that week that perhaps, since you were very close with Indy, that if Alyssa and Indy stayed on the block, that Indy would stay and you could convince her to join our group, and then we would be insulated too. And so I remember we were talking, you and I were talking about like, oh my gosh, veto is tomorrow. We need to convince Monty and the others to have them not use the veto. So have Kyle and Daniel not use the veto so that Alyssa and Indy stay up, Alyssa goes home, and Indy can join our pair. But it's your birthday, Michael, and it's like 11:30, 11:45, right before midnight, where we're going to celebrate your birthday. And we have to have this huge game conversation the night before. And so you and I were talking about this in the have-not room. And I just remember you were so pissed, and you're just sitting there with your arms crossed, leaning up against the have-not like wall, and you're like, "Oh, it's my fucking birthday."
I know, because our group of like the leftovers, we would stay up late. Most of the other people on the other side of the house would go to bed fairly early, but everyone stayed up for birthdays. So like we're all going to be up to like 2, and then we're going to have to hope that every single person outside the leftovers goes to bed. And then we're going to have this whole conversation. And I didn't know how easy it was going to be for us to convince people, but it's like, this isn't going to be just like a 5-minute thing. And then veto is the next morning. So it's like, well, if other conversations need to be had, there's not much time. It was like, oh, my fucking birthday is getting in the way. Like I should be so excited right now.
We're about to have, like, we have paper plates that are shaped like cats. We have a cake that Taylor and I had decorated for you. Everyone's about to come up to the HOH room and have this great party. And here we have Michael's just like, oh, my birthday. And I was like, you know what? I love this man. You love Big Brother just as much. We love Big Brother so much that, you know, it's like, we don't want to celebrate our birthdays. We want to play the game. We need to have this conversation, you know? And that moment will just forever be my favorite Big Brother moment of the season.
I wonder if the I haven't seen that clip anywhere, but
my guess is no. Oh, you know what? I asked Steven if he had seen that because it's my favorite moment, and I told him, and he like cracked up. He said he didn't see it, but I just feel like it would have been iconic if it was on the feed.
yeah,
because I loved it. All right, let's see what else we had. That one's just about me, so let's not do that. I'm not gonna answer that. I don't know if we can talk about audition stuff. We should probably steer clear of that, eh?
yeah.
Let's see. I feel like we've answered one of my favorite. Oh, what was your favorite comp this season to play in or to watch?
So I've talked about it a little bit, but this is probably not actually like the coolest or most iconic comp. The mermaid comp was so much fun. I loved that one because I love those little beads, and I always think like, you know, if there's like a jar of them and you like stick your finger or your hand in, it's like, oh, that feels kind of funny, or like, oh, kind of cool. Like, how cool would it be to just like have a bathtub filled with them and like lay in that? Like, I don't know. I always thought would be so fun, and so like I got to do that. And that one was just a lot of fun. Like, so growing up, my favorite movie when I was a kid was The Little Mermaid. So I've always like, oh, like try one, like all these things I'd wanted to try all in one comp, and I won it. So it was a lot of fun, even though it was like deceptively tiring. I was gassed at the end of that. Like, I was so tired.
It looked like it. And you know what? That one, how it's edited, I don't know if you felt this way. I felt it looked longer than it was. Like, didn't we think it was about like 7 minutes? Wasn't that what we were guessing if they were going to ask us any tiebreaker questions?
Yeah, it did not last super long. Somewhere between probably like 5 to 7 minutes, which seems kind of like sad for like all the setup that goes into those comps over so quick. But yeah, it went pretty fast, which I was surprised about.
Yeah, it's funny because that one, I felt like watching back the episode, it looked like obviously they didn't give it a full 7 minutes in the episode, but it looked like they were trying to make more out of it. It felt like a sprint kind of comp. It was like a very fast one. Whereas I feel like most of the other comps, they're like, oh man, they're not giving it justice in terms of how long it actually took.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny. Taylor said that the Mermaid Fest was harder than The Wall. I heard her say that in a live too, which is interesting.
Yeah, I didn't get to play in The Wall.
Oh, you didn't get to play The Wall. I'll tell you did not mess anything. That was so hard. You would have been good at it, but oh god.
Wall would have been my comp. Like, really? Grip strength, like, not my thing. So who knows? But
you got your long, lean muscles, and you're not like, you don't have very much weight to you. I feel like you would have done good.
I don't know. Well, never know, I guess. But
you never know, unless they bring you back and you get to play The Wall. And then...
Always Mermaid Fest, but
I'll tell you, I was just so happy I didn't last literally 1 second on that wall, because the moment it tipped, I was like, oh my gosh, I am falling off this thing.
Yeah, that is one comp that, like, from watching it at home, you're like, oh, like, I could do that. Like, that looks, not that it looks easy, but it's just like, you just hold on. And but like the angle when you are sitting there watching it is like, that is way more than it looks on TV.
Oh, that and the Pride Slide one was much steeper.
Yeah.
That was like a bunny hill. That was like a ski bunny hill steepness. Yes. And the angle that they show, like they always kind of do the angle of the camera, like from the upward angle, makes it look like it's just a little incline. No, It is steep.
Yes.
I literally was trying to do my legs and my feet like I was skiing down a hill to stop myself because it was that steep.
Yep.
Like you were skiing down Crisco, you know? And that's what it is. It looks like a shaving cream, but it's actually Crisco. And it makes your clothes stink for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I think I just tossed some stuff because it ruined some of my stuff. I'm like, there's no salvaging this.
Oh, really? You tossed it?
because I washed stuff and then I made the mistake of washing those clothes with some other things, and that smell got into those, and I put it through the wash multiple times. I soaked a bunch of stuff in the HOH room the next week in the tub for like days with like, I would change out the water and laundry soap, and some of it still never came out. I was like, saving this.
Not to burst your bubble, because I know you haven't, we talked about this the first time we were doing live before, you have not opened your box yet of your Big Brother stuff. I will say most of my stuff, at least, was like costumes I gave them back because I didn't want them. Like,
oh no.
And so I'm like, oh, you're giving me back stuff that like I would have kept it if I wanted it. There was other good stuff in there, but yeah, still, I just thought that was kind of funny.
Got her night costume from that first veto, and I'm like, if that is not washed, like, that was one of the hottest days. I remember being so sweaty and having to put that costume back on. I took it immediately when I got back in, but then for the diary room, I had to wear it again, and just put that sweaty thing back on. I was like, I hope it's clean in some shape or form.
All the stuff is clean, because I got back some costumes, like the pant. I really loved the pants that I got from the Horror Fest, the dark room one. I love those pants, but they were like so gooey and gross that I was like, oh, I'm not even gonna try. I just like, I got rid of them. Well, they gave them back to me, so they must have done some industrial washing or something. So if you get your things back, they'll be all clean and good. So yeah. Speaking of which, actually, somebody said don't give it back. Auction on eBay. Can I just do a real quick plug, because there's one day left? I actually am auctioning off my backstage shirt and my pass right now, and there's one day left. So if you go to my bio and click the link, bid on it, and it goes to charity for the Hearts of Reality. Which you're going to go to the event in Florida in December. Have you decided yet?
Depends on the date. I might have cat just jumped up here. Holiday thing sometime in December. It's earlier, so I need to check on that, but I would love to do that.
Yeah, please do that. That'd be so fun. It's December 8th through 10th.
Okay.
In Celebration, Florida, and I think anybody can buy tickets and go and stuff. And there's just like everybody from any reality show you've ever heard of, or look at the attendee list. I'm actually kind of excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be fangirling so bad. Like, I am excited to be there and meet all these people. Which is really fun. And then a lot of people from I think Joseph will be there too, and I think Jasmine are going to be there. I'm sure others probably as well. So it'll be kind of a nice little reunion, but that'd be fun. Let's see. Let's do another one. Why don't you? Let's see. So we talked about that. I'm curious. I don't know if we talked about this, Michael. Have you had your call with Janelle yet? And are you jealous of Hayden's premiere party when you found out? Have you talked to Janelle since being out of the house?
I haven't had a call with Janelle yet. I think I will pretty soon. I'm still like, I have not checked any of my like social media messages yet. I'm just like,
Michael.
that are in here like stresses me out. But I will say I am, number one, yes, very jealous that she went to the premiere party, but I'm also mortified that some of my friends who were there didn't know who Janelle was, and they were like, what season were you? I'm like, you like didn't know who Janelle was, like, as much as I talk about this show, and then didn't know who she was. Like, that was like mortifying to hear, like. But I'm so I actually knew McCrae from season 15. He worked at the escape room that I worked at a couple years back, so I knew him. I have talked to him. And so he said he's excited to have me to come do their podcast, which I was like, oh, that's like that like if I hope I get to do out of this is go on there.
That will be so much fun. I can't wait to listen to that. That will be so great.
But yeah, so that'll be exciting when that happens.
Really cool. Yeah, that's what's so cool. I guess I hadn't really internalized how fun it's been to get to talk to like Brad Pitt, George Clooney, I don't know, whoever's famous people. I don't care about those people. I care about Big Brother people. Like, those are my celebrities. Mm-hmm. And like getting to make friends now with people and get to talk to people and all these podcast interviews, like that is just the coolest thing out of like all of this.
Is there anyone who lives in Austin or around you that you?
There's a lot in Dallas. So Elena Davies, I've been really like What's so funny is I loved her in her season and followed her online on Instagram like since like the 5 years since, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, we would be good friends. And that's just, you know, I'm sure so many people feel this way about watching us on live feeds. They like know us so well that they're like, and you know what, who you'd be friends with. And so I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I just know we'd be friends. And so we've been texting like nonstop. She's literally coming to Austin like to hang out and see me. And like, yeah, I just can't wait. Like
Oh,
I'm so excited about that. So I've definitely connected with her. There's a lot of people in Dallas, but I don't think there's anybody in Austin. But luckily, Dallas is only a couple hours away, so it's not too bad. Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be kind of fun. Let's see what else we got here. Was it ever boring in the BB house, especially as the numbers became less?
yes. I remember thinking that like before going, it's like there's no way I would ever be bored in there. But yes, it gets boring, and there'll be times when you like sometimes you're like the only person awake, or like everyone's in the DR or doing things that are like, okay, like I'm just chilling by myself right now, and I want to be doing something. But yeah, it does get boring.
So freaking boring. I don't think I even thought, I mean, I'm the kind of person that's just constantly going, working like nonstop. Like I do not take breaks. It is so boring in the house. I think, Michael, you know, I don't know if you've seen this online, that a lot of people, we get some flack. Have you heard? We get some flack for talking through all our options. That is something you and I did. First of all, I think that's actually I would recommend anybody who's playing this game to look at things from all angles. Also, when you're that bored and you want to talk game and you want to play a game, that's what you do.
Hmm?
How many times I'd be like, where's Michael? Let's just see if we can talk about games. Is there anything like, I just want to play this game and I can't do anything right now, so let's just talk about
Yeah.
it. Which is funny. But yeah, it's so boring. That's why we come up with games. Like we played categories a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We played, I mean, we try to come up with every games. We played bocce ball with the pool balls until they actually got us a bocce ball set. But you get various like games provided to you throughout the season as things get you know, as things dwindle down or whatnot.
Yeah.
But
I remember early on, I remember Taylor was trying to think of like activities and things for us to do. And I remember one of her suggestions was that she wanted to do like a pageant, and like so many people shut it down. They're like, no, that's dumb. We don't want to do that. And I'm like, let's do anything. I will do, I don't care what, like, let's do something. But I don't know. I think just kind of depends on the people that you're there with too. Cause at the end, like, yeah, we did like our cookie baking contest one day. And so like,
that was fun. Was that on the live feed? Do you know?
yes, I think so, because there was a picture of me, Alyssa, and Turner sitting in front of the oven watching our cookies bake. So
That was so much fun. I enjoyed that. We never ended up doing the peanut butter and jelly version of that, which we thought about.
that would have been fun.
That would have been fun too. They gave us tie-dye stuff at the very end. Did you guys get that in jury? To do tie-dye? No. That was
No.
fun at least. So that was like, oh, an activity that wasn't a game. Because sometimes
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to be playing these other games. Why are we playing a game? We're playing a game here. I don't want to play another game. Plus, like, so many different versions of checkers. Like, I just don't want to play that. Michael was very kind and tried to teach me how to do checkers. I was just like, at a certain point, I was just like, we just need to stop this. All these pieces look the same. Don't want to do this. But it does get very boring in the house, especially once, like, at the first couple of weeks, you're still getting to know everybody. You're still having deep conversations. That's fine. But then at a certain point, you're just like, we have literally talked about everything, you know,
Yeah.
and you just repeat the same stories. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard because like a lot of times you talk about things that you know, shared experiences, you know, like with me and my friends, like who I went to college with, we'll talk about like, oh, remember when this happened in college? It's like, but in the house, like the only thing that you have shared that you can talk about is what has gone on in the house. And
Yes. I know that's what's the weirdest thing. I don't know if you feel this way, Michael, but like sometimes like I mean, I feel so close to you. Like I we lived together for 3 months and we're best friends in the house. I feel like I know how you are in the morning when you first wake up, but I don't know like the most basic things, like especially when I didn't know like what your career was the whole time. So I was like, so tell me about your job.
Yeah.
This feels so weird. Like we're so close in some respects, but we don't have this shared history of living life together, which is such a weird feeling sometimes.
Yeah, and that's so weird. 'Cause, yeah, there's like the opposite for like some of my friends at home, where it's like, yeah, I know like all these facts about you, with like certain situations like that I just like have no idea how you would respond, and like people that I lived with this summer, like, oh, I can tell you exactly what they would do or how they would react to this. But then these basic things like, oh, I actually don't know that.
Yeah. It's a very strange feeling. Oh, and then the only other thing we have in common is something that we can't talk about too much here, but what you have to do before you get into the house. And you're not allowed to talk about that in the house either. So it's like, the one thing we have in common is, the thing you can't really talk about, which is kind of crazy too. So let's see what other questions we got here. Oh, it looks like Indy joined us. Hi, Indy.
Oh, Indy.
Let's see. I don't really want to talk about people outside the house. Remember, we're keeping this nice here. Let's see. Oh, people want to know thoughts on Survivor, Amazing Race, The Mole. Are there any other shows, Michael, you would ever consider?
Oh, I always said, like, going into Big Brother, I was like, I want to play Big Brother. I'm not here to, like, start a reality TV career, but if an opportunity would present itself, I'm probably going to say yes. Like, I started watching Big Brother and Survivor and these reality shows, like, back when I was, like, 8 years old. So, like, this is what I've grown up with. Like, I love it. I think it's so much fun. But, like, I was like, my goal is never to, as soon as I get off Big Brother, I'm going to start pushing and campaigning to get on Survivor. Like, if a call comes, I'll probably say yes. But, we'll see what happens. But I think all those shows are so much fun, and I would love to do any of them. But just there's these things that, like, on Big Brother, it's like never again in my life will I, be sliding down a ramp to look for a bottle to bring to an animatronic cockroach. Like, there's just such unique that you get to do this. Like, I would never ever do this or have a chance to do any of this. It's just such a cool experience. Like, I don't know how anyone could turn something like that down.
Right. I feel the exact same way. Like, even in the house, I was like, I don't want to do anything else but Big Brother. And
Yeah.
I mean, not that anyone's asked me to do anything, nor do I expect that to be a thing. But it's also just like, when do you get to experience these things? And it's also fun to, like we were talking before the live crash, before Michael and I were just talking on the phone before this started, and we were geeking out over the mall, which we won't talk about too much because we don't want to give any spoilers away. We both finished it. But I don't know about you, Michael, just watching reality shows now is so interesting. Just, I look at it and I'm like, like, what did production do that? I was like, surely they were briefed before they went on and climbed that tree in that first comp, or, like, you start thinking about some of those other, the logistics now that you kind of know what the behind the scenes are like, and how that must all play out, which is kind of crazy too. So
Exactly.
Oh, Jasmine's here too. Oh my God, we got a party. Hello, people.
Oh.
So interesting. Open. I guess the answer is open to whatever comes.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make you answer about who you're inviting to your wedding, Michael. Oh, so I already told my funniest moment in the house. What's your funniest moment, Michael, in the house?
Oh, my funniest moment. Okay, this one like probably makes me sound horrible, but Jasmine Jasmine is so funny. The way that she tells stories and things that have happened is so funny. She was telling the story once about someone in her family, like, unfortunately, like, ran over a dog. And, like, the story itself, that is not a funny thing. But the way that she told it, and then Alyssa was only, like, half listening and thought Jasmine was talking about someone, like, crushing a beetle or something. And just, like, Jasmine's reaction to Alyssa, like not paying attention and, like, getting the story wrong, like, re-explaining. It was just the funniest, like, miscommunication. And it was just, I laughed so hard. It was like, there's no scenario in life where talking about a dog dying should be funny in any way, shape, or form, but somehow this has me just dying laughing. I hope that was on the live feeds, because there's no way that I could ever explain exactly how the story and conversation went to do it real justice, but it was so funny. That's one thing that sticks out. That and Turner, and Brittany, you probably know. There was one late night, we're talking about our intro packages to the show, like when production came and filmed the stuff that you saw in the premiere episode. And Turner was talking about how he was like, gosh, I probably look so dumb, like, doing these dances. And he was showing us the dances that he had to do where he's like, going back and forth, like waving his arms all crazy. And it was just the funniest thing, because that's not Turner that we knew in the house. He's very chill and laid back, but he was just like, well, they told me to dance, so I just started doing that. So funny. Brittany is pretending to be asleep, hoping she can eavesdrop on something.
So, you know how I was talking about how I picked that bed because it's at the intersection of everything, so I could see who's going in what room and whatnot. I also, at the beginning, would oftentimes pretend to be the sleep so I could hear other people that were talking in the middle room. And that was one of those nights. I told Michael this, like, afterwards, that I was literally listening to this whole conversation, which was hilarious as I was sleeping. And I think I let out a little bit of a laugh. I was like, oh, and I was like, I was trying to cover it. And because I like literally peeked out my covers and I saw Turner dance like across down the hallway, and I was like dying laughing because it was very funny. So I was kind of there. I didn't get to experience the whole hilarity of that moment, but it was very funny.
That was pretty early on in the game, so like we're all sleep deprived, and so like it's just like like when you get really tired and then all of a sudden like everything is so funny. It was very much that was playing into it, I think, too, but it was just so funny to see him do these dances for us, and like
and they showed a little bit of it but another funny one that I loved with them, and they showed a little bit of on the episode, but not the whole thing, is that ferret conversation. You and I were there for the ferret. What gets me at the very end, I showed this to Steven because I was like, have you seen the full length of this conversation? I showed the clip to him. Yeah. And he was literally like rolling on the floor at the very end. It's when Jasmine was like, what did she say? Jasmine, what did you say? Do you remember? She was like something about like, well, is it a cat and a carrot or something like that? Something about adding.
Her and Jasmine would like argue, like they would talk about like, let's debate Will Smith or those two together. It was just so funny. Yeah. Like
so good. It was so good. I loved it. I think that the full length clip, somebody tagged us in it on Twitter or something, and then I shared it in our BB24 like group chat because I was like, this is just so good. If you weren't me or Michael, that means you weren't here for the whole part of it. It was just so funny. But so that was funniest moments. And then I already shared mine, which was Michael not wanting to celebrate his birthday because he wanted to play a game. Which was funny. Let's see. Oh, we already talked about the double eviction. But I will say, and Brittany, was it awkward between you two after the finale? No, I think we were really good. People don't know that I obviously was mad at you and then understood and then was upset. You go through all the feelings of things. But at the end of the day, it's like I knew it was a game too. And it was, you had to do what you had to do to try to at least stay. And so you and I got to talk, at the jury roundtable and then afterwards, which was really nice. And that just felt good that it was like, oh, okay, like we're good. Like, because that's the last thing. I mean, it's funny watching the mole. I got to give credit to the players, and this isn't giving away anything, but I have to give credit to the players. At least they edited it to really seem like everybody's like coming into the game like, I'm going to win. I think one of my regrets when Big Brother is that I really wanted to make some friends. Like, I guess I just saw outside people just have these lifelong relationships. That's like a second family, this shared experience. And I just really wanted that as a part of it. And so it's like, I don't know. I think sometimes that clouded my judgment in the game of like, I wish I would have come in more with a mentality that's like, I am here for everything, no matter what, I don't know. But then I'm like, well, would I have gotten as far? Would things have worked out? You play the what ifs. So.
Because if people recognize that in you early on, they target you. So.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If they know you're going to be there no matter what, then and there's a good element of a social game that's like, and you're living with these people too. So it's like, I don't know, you want to make friends, you want to be close. I don't know. I definitely recognize that and that's why I think a lot of my game moves sometimes didn't make sense to people, that it was like, okay, well, like sure, I'm here to win, but I'm also here for the experience of knowing what it's like. I'm also here to make really great friends, to have like, I was there for different reasons that I think a lot of other people weren't. So it was hard to understand, I only had a certain dollar amount that I felt that I really absolutely wanted to hit to go home, which, oh my God forbid you say that out loud and you know, whatever. But,
people talking about money in the house, which was really surprising to me because there were so many people like who would talk about, I'm hoping to get like these opportunities from this, that, and the other. But then people would talk about like, oh, I'm hoping, to get to this dollar amount or whatever. And people, it was like, to me, that's kind of the same thing in a way that I was just like, I never really cared. Like, for me, not that I didn't care about like what people did outside, but it was like, it doesn't matter within the game, you know, why someone is here necessarily or what they do outside of here. If I can trust them and can work with them, that's what I care about. That was like kind of my thing. So it was funny to see like what mattered to people in terms of, you know, I think this is okay for people to talk about, but not this or that and the other. And I think that's, and I think that's kind of why, like, in a lot of conversations, I tried to like listen more than I talk, because I was like, well,
you were really good at that. I was not good at that.
Like, he said this for this reason, like, you know, I don't know, like, because you never know what you could say that might put a target on your back from someone. And it was interesting to see what some people were really like, I really hated that this person is here for this reason or that reason or the other.
Yeah, that always surprised me too. And I kind of found out a little bit about that outside the house, and I won't name names, but I always felt like it was really important so that people understood my thought process, that maybe I was making decisions that weren't first place decisions, but were okay for second place decisions. Because I was here to earn enough money to be able to start my family. And I knew you always understood that. And I know I always told you that, because I didn't want you to ever question, like, why is Brittany doing this? Like, can I trust her? Whereas you knew, and this is nothing I've ever tried to hide. And I know I get a ton of flack for it, but it's the truth. I wanted to go to Final Two with you, Michael, and I knew that I would not win if that was the case. But that was okay, because second place was going to fulfill the reason why I went onto the show, which was to get the experience, make really great friends, and make enough money to be able to start my family. Check all those 3 boxes, full. I would have been happy with my whole experience. Not everybody who goes in is coming through the same lens. And so I felt like you understood. I shared that with you. You understood. And I wanted to make sure you knew that, because then you had that trust that you knew, okay, everyone else in this freaking house is out to get you, but Brittany is not. Like, and it doesn't make sense, but Brittany is not. Even if she says she is to other people, that's so we can bring back information, you know? I would share that with, say, somebody else, so that they, especially after you had left in the game, and I shared for why I was making certain decisions, and it rubbed people the wrong way. And it was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because it's like, that's just my truth and why I was there. But you don't know how people are going to react to understanding your why, and why some whys are okay and other whys are not, and, you know, all these things. We all come through our own lens, you know? Yeah. So
That's, I know this is not the question before us, but in like, for anyone who plays the game in the future, like I go in and, like, you know, we watch the game, you know, for what, you know, we've been watching for 20 plus years. And so in our heads, like, we expect people to always make the optimal move to get to the end to win. But when you assume that everyone is doing that, then you like assume, like, well, this person would never vote me out because they could win against me or something like that. And that's just not the case. So, like, really listening and getting to know people, to know, like, what makes them tick, I think is so important, because you don't want to just assume what someone's going to do, because you can clearly see that it's the best path forward, but it maybe is not. And maybe it just goes against whatever they have in their mind. So, like, I know that, again, it's not what's the question before us, but, like, anyone who plays, that is so important. Find out why people are there, what makes them tick, and that'll really help you understand why they do what they do and help predict their moves, I think.
Seriously, the most surprising moments I can think of, a handful of this moment of the season, that it was like, oh, I'm assuming people are going to think things, that they have the same, you know, the same perspective that I have. But then you're like, no, if I get into their psychology, like why Daniel didn't use the veto at that moment. We were thinking about it logically, but no, he was making a more emotional decision in that moment. Like, and that's the thing that I love about Big Brother, and I love that we would always talk about this, is that it's not a purely logical game. There is a lot of emotional components to it. And so if you don't understand those, it doesn't matter. You could say, oh, that was a dumb move, but it was the move that was made. And you might suffer because of it. So yeah, really understanding where people are, who is going to make those more logical moves, who's going to make more emotional moves. Guess what? They're both moves in the game. You can't say one's better than another. They're both at play here. So yeah, that was always really interesting, trying to come from that perspective and be like, okay, if I put myself in their shoes, what would they do? Not my own shoes, you know. It's hard to do. So. All right. right, Michael, you want to take a couple more questions? I feel like I could talk about this all night, but I also know that this is also our second live. So we've been talking for a long time.
Always happy to do this again.
Yeah, right. This is so much fun. I love talking. I miss getting to talk game with you.
Oh, same. I know that's been one thing weird is like for 65 days and even in the jury house I was never ever alone. So like being home and now like if Hayden's gone, it's like I am all alone here. Like it feels so weird to not always have like I'll just go back into the bubble room and there'll be people there. Because I remember like as much as I think I'm introverted, like in that house I really liked being around people and like being around everyone and be like, I'm alone. I should go find people to hang out with. Like, I wonder where people are, like, who's awake, who's doing what. And, like, now, like, I don't have that anymore. It's just like.
I know. I'll say the last couple weeks, I took over that bubble room. Sorry, Indy. I would hang out in your bed a lot. It felt weird. I wasn't gonna sit, well, because Alyssa was there for one of the weeks, and then she left, and that felt like, oh, that was her place. And then you were still there. Michael, did you know that the little note that you had in one of your teas, it was still on the wall?
Oh,
after you left.
Self is infinite, right? That one?
Yes, that one.
Like, I could, like, don't limit yourself. And, I forgot about that. But yeah, I remember having that up on my windowsill, or the ledge by the mirror.
Sometimes I would hang in the bubble room because that was your bed, and I'd hang and I'd talk with you. And then just like, I don't know, I know it sounds so silly, but like I felt I was just so alone in the house, and you just don't have that many people. And so it just felt nice to go back in the bubble room. No one was ever going back there because no one slept back there anymore. And I just would like sit there. I'd think through, how in the world am I going to convince Monty? I'd make my little M&M charts. I would talk to the camera. It was very comforting. This all comes up saying that you're never alone. It was a weird feeling to have a moment alone in the Big Brother house because that was so rare, in other instances. But yeah, it's weird to get used to now that we're out.
Yeah.
All right, let's do 2 more questions. How about that? Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, let's make them good ones. Let's see. Can't talk about auditions. Already talked about that. Oh goodness. I'm not gonna talk about that. We already talked about memes. A lot of these are repeats. Let's see. What was the hardest part about living in the house besides missing loved ones?
On a superficial level, I'm gonna say that like I'm a particular person. Like I like to do things a certain way. So when you're living with 15 other people who do things differently from you, just from like a roommate standpoint, like dishes and cooking and or do some people like immediately clean up after themselves? Do they wait? Do they not do it at all? Like that was hard, especially like because you're navigating a game where it's like I'm not about to get evicted because I called someone out for not doing their dishes. So I was like, I guess I will just, if it bothers me, I'm just gonna do it myself. And I guess so. You and I did so many dishes.
So much.
We would start doing that. Like, I guess I'll be helpful to the house, but like that kind of stuff, like just roommate stuff like that, because I like to do things a certain way, like that would like irk me. But I maybe that's my answer. That's the first thing that comes to my head. But I don't know.
I know it always pained me to see how much it bothered you because that I was just like, oh, like this just isn't going away. But you always did. I always appreciated you were the one who would always vacuum on Thursdays for everybody. That was always very nice.
Which that was I actually enjoyed doing that because those rugs got so gross and like so much throughout the week with everyone walking on them, and it's like, oh, finally we get to do it. that was very exciting. So I always liked doing the vacuuming. That one I liked doing. The dishes, maybe not so much, but I will also say going in, I did have a strategy that I was going to try to do that kind of stuff because the kitchen is a great place to kind of be stationed because you can see who's going up to the HOH room. You can see who's going into the bathroom because we would hang out in the bathroom weirdly for whatever reason. Who's going back to the bedrooms? If the backyard is open, it's a very central location. You can keep an eye on things. So I did like that for that standpoint. It's like, okay, I have an excuse to kind of be looking about where people are, and it's not obvious because he's helping. Like, So
That's how I felt too. I always tried to use the kitchen and the dishes opportunity to try to build relationship build. Hey, somebody's going to help you. I'll dry the dishes while you're washing them. And try to. At first, I was trying to pull in different people, but then there tend to be like kind of the same people. And then it was like, okay, well, this is a moment where we can talk, especially if there's not anybody around, and people are just like, oh, Michael and Brittany are doing dishes, or like I know earlier in the game it was a time period where I would talk with Kyle a lot, like if you find kind of your things, and to be in that central location. I figured, you know what, I'd want to be hanging around and overhearing conversations that are happening at the breakfast bar, or seeing where people are going, and this gives me a reason to be here rather than just like lurking around and being around. And plus, because I wasn't somebody who cooked a lot, I always felt like, hey, if I don't cook, then I will do the dishes and we'll clean up, and that's something that you can do. But I will say, I kind of thought that cooking and doing chores would maybe hold a little bit more weight in terms of keeping you in the house. No. It's good to do those things. If you don't do those things, it's noticed.
yes.
But just because you do cook doesn't mean that we won't figure out how to feed ourselves if you're gone. I think that was, sometimes people I guess what I'm trying to say is, don't give it too much credit. Don't be like, oh, I'm safe until jury because I cooked dinner. It's like, no,
Yep.
So
Yeah. Hey, it's something that it doesn't necessarily help, but it doesn't hurt. Like, it can hurt if you don't do anything, but that's why I was like, I'll just try to be useful. And I don't know, I think people notice, people would make comments about like how much we would clean or do dishes or stuff. So I'm like, good, like they're noticing and talking about you in a positive way. Like, hey, that's good, because then they're not talking about you negatively.
Yep, that's true. Yesy besties.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so you said the hardest part was kind of like how dirty it was and everything. What was the hardest part about living in the house besides missing loved ones? I think for me, and I know this is so silly, but I think it was, I regret, if I could do it over again, I regret not sharing what I did for a living with everybody, because it just is such a big part of who I am in my life. And I felt like I was only sharing like 20-year-old Brittany as opposed to 32-year-old Brittany. Like it, and so it felt like there was a distance between people that I know was all in my mind, but like, I think I looking back on it, I realized, oh gosh, like I worried so much about that, which was something that like I didn't have to worry about. Like that was self-imposed. Especially considering I was picked for backstage anyways. Like who would have cared? My whole worry was that I'd be like, hi, I'm Brittany, I'm a hypnotist, and I'd be targeted. I was targeted anyways. So who really cares? At least I could have had those moments to talk with people. And I think if people got to know me, and especially if I did those group hypnosis sessions in the house, that they would have been like, oh, this is not, their misconceptions about what hypnotism is and how it's used. Right. I could have dispelled those pretty easily. And I think people would have ultimately been like, oh, she's not like, I think they would have realized like, oh, that's why she was cast, but it's not like she's going to go hypnotize us to put up nominations or something. Like that's not how that works. Right. So I think that was the hardest part, not being able to share such a big part of myself with everybody.
Yeah.
Yep. So, okay. One final question. We got to make it good, Michael, until we do this again. Let's see. Not gonna talk about anything hard hitting. Let's see. This is interesting. What moment in the house was the most shocking?
Ooh.
Shocking.
I guess for me, I would probably say the when Julie announced the split house twist, because that was something that we've never seen before on Big Brother, because we were all expecting it to be a double eviction. Sorry, my cat's gonna knock over. We were all expecting a double eviction that day. And yes, technically it ended up being a double eviction, but it was very different. Because I think we would spin our wheels and drive ourselves crazy thinking about what twists are going to come up, what is going to happen with this. Oh, there goes my light. Sorry. My cat here for a second. Okay.
Yeah, that's so true. That split house. Oh my God.
Okay, sorry. I had to shut her out.
Yeah, so you were saying that you try to think of all the twists that it could be,
yeah.
Something like that.
Yep. And so, yeah, I think that was the biggest shock, and just thinking, because it's like Big Brother had never done anything like that before. And then, it was dropped on us, and we went immediately into that HOH competition, and then immediately from the HOH competition into the picks for the two houses. So it all happened so fast that it was like there was no time to really think, and just trying to come up with stuff on the fly. It was very difficult. So and again, expect the unexpected. Nothing should have shocked us like that, but I definitely was not expecting something like that kind of twist.
I don't know how you picked those teams, Michael. Like winning that HOH. Do you see VIP and having to pick those teams? Because like literally how you're describing it, because it was a live thing. I mean, the picking the teams, I think they showed on the next episode, if I recall. But I mean, to us, it was like right, boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
That was just so quick. I just think about like, oh, if I would have pulled through it, I would have won that thing. I just don't even know. That was just really, really quick. Really quick. And it's so important, like so monumental, to have to do so quickly too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I think I would have kept in mind, like at least as the leftovers, we knew the two targets. That's the thing. I think I probably wouldn't have thought strategically enough. I think since it went so fast, I just would have been like, okay, we got to make sure Jasmine's in one group and Alyssa's in the other, and then it would have just shook out from there. Which I don't know. You talk through what that would have looked like, anyways. But
yeah, and I look back.
Oh, somebody said, Brittany, why did you do so bad in that comp? Can I just say, those TV screens were so small and very far away, and I'm very, my eyesight is not good at all. Did you obviously you did not have trouble seeing it that much, Michael, considering you won, but I think those TVs were going to be bigger.
I did too. So the thing that surprised me, I did not think I was going to do well at that comp, because you and Terrence went up first, and I remember like trying to play along from the couch, and I never saw the VIP of that rep. So I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to win this, because I didn't find it that first round. And because you and Terrence were the first ones, you didn't exactly know what you were looking for. So I remember that one lasting, not a super long time, but like a little longer than some of the next rounds.
Yeah.
Still figuring it out. So I was like, well, I guess hopefully someone else from the Alliance wins. But
that was the worst comp to be randomly selected to be first and two. Because Michael, think about this. I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago. At that point in time, leftovers was pretty solid. I mean, the week before with Kyle not using the veto had kind of formed some divisions, but we were still leftovers.
Yeah.
And I think if two leftovers would have won HOHs, things would have been very different. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I forgot Terrence was still there too. I said Jasmine and Alyssa, but it could have been Terrence as well. Remember, that was when we were talking about Brittany and Joseph are the only two non-leftovers who haven't won HOHs. Let's pull through. I think you guys, I could be wrong, but I think you guys would have really tried not to pick me and Joseph.
We agreed that we would. Because we again, as we spin our wheels and predict everything, we're like, if we get this comp, because it usually comes up, because I was worried if we got that comp and then people started like within the leftovers being like, well, I want to make sure that like I trust this person the most, so I'm gonna put up other people. Like that is gonna divide us, fracture us, break us. Let's come up with a strategy beforehand. So then it's like, yeah, of course, like I put Michael up, but he told me that was okay because he had already won. I was hoping that would kind of help us. So like, and obviously I wanted you to win HOH. Like I was like, I'm really happy Brittany it was HOH. So it was like hoping, and that we got that comp, but we couldn't even use that strategy because of the two HOHs.
No, it's so crazy to look back. I was like, man, if I would have been selected randomly first and of course lost that round, I think I would have sat on that couch. I think leftovers probably wouldn't have picked me.
Yeah.
Because they would have felt good that if I was HOH, and so maybe I would have played a later round, or I could have potentially not been picked until it was, me and you in the last round, and one of us was, we were both the respective HOHs,
Yeah.
That could have been a scenario that happened. I was just like, damn, like out of all the comps, I think the leftovers would have really had my back and tried to help me win. It's just I got randomly selected first for that, and it was just so small. I just could not see it. Of course, when they show it big on your TV screen when you're watching at home, it's super big and you're way closer than you are, and I could see it real easy when I'm watching the episode back. But in that moment, it was not so easy. But yeah, so that was pretty shocking. I'm trying to think what would be the moment in the house that was most shocking? I mean, I think that was most shocking. Have you seen the meme of Jasmine finding out about the twist? I think she used it in our group chat the other day where she's like,
Oh, I probably have seen it.
it's so funny, Steve. Her face, I mean, it just encapsulates what all of us were feeling was like, what is going to happen? They were going to live outside. Like, that was just nuts. I mean, I think that really was probably my most shocking moment too. Yeah, it's just when you're living it, you're just, and I think that's what's kind of funny is you watch the reactions on the episodes and you see people breaking down crying, or you see people like so shocked or this or that. Like,
Yeah.
because how it's edited and it's a fun summer show, you forget, like, but those are real human reactions. Like, there was literally never a vote where I wasn't like physically shaking sitting there on the couch before a vote. Like, it's just becomes your whole world. And I know I'm more of an emotional person and I feel things more. I'm an empath, so I get that. But like, there's never a moment, like, I guess it's just funny. You just think that people are like playing it up or this or that.
Yeah.
I guess I can only speak for myself, but it's just, those are very real reactions.
I know. I was surprised they didn't do. They usually do at the end of the season, like a montage of, like people cried in the DR, and then they showed all.
They do on the recap episode.
Yeah. Oh, Oh, okay. I thought that was like a finale thing. Oh, I wanted to watch that because, like, I don't think
watch the
I
recap.
cried in the DR.
Asking for a pet, Michael. They show you asking for a pet.
Oh, they do. Oh, that's really funny. I didn't. I asked so much.
I was really surprised for there being a montage of crying, and considering most of what I did in the DR was cry. Yeah. I'm really surprised that I was only shown once. I think they showed the little clip where I'm like crying and I'm like, because I said I belly danced, I got picked. And it's like, it's really funny because it's like, okay, that was really upsetting to, that's a perfect example. That was a moment that was very upsetting to me because I was being targeted week one and I didn't want to leave. But then also it's really funny when you objectively look at like what I'm saying and that I'm that upset about that. It's just funny to realize the juxtaposition of like, we laugh at home when somebody's crying because it's funny, but like in that moment it was very much not funny for that person.
Yeah. When you are in that house, it feels life or death. Like I always say, like that first veto comp, like I was riding a mechanical bull with like a pool noodle trying to hook these rings, but it felt like I was fighting for my life. If I don't get this, I am going to die. Like it just feels so heightened when you're in there, and like you really put like, it's a big investment to like leave your friends and family and your life behind for 3 months. And like you put so much to be here. And, especially like for us who like have had a dream to be here for so long, it's just like, it really feels like it matters so, so much. And like when you're at home, like, yeah, it's pretty easy. You watch the 40-minute episode, turn your TV off and go about your day. But when you are in there and you are living it and this is your reality and you're like, this could be ripped away from me at any moment. It's like, you get so invested.
So true. And I think you and I being super fans too and just loving the game, I had that moment, that thought a few times. I was like, man, if I had just been recruited and I was like, what's this Big Brother thing, and just like, I think that would have almost benefited you in the game, being like, oh, okay, I just thought I'd try this, but I don't really care. It could go either way. That maybe you wouldn't hold on to it so tightly and it wouldn't matter so much, and maybe you like wouldn't have stomach issues, because it's like, it just like, it feels like life or death, which is really crazy. But
yeah.
Okay.
But I'll say that also did help me. Like week one, like I was a have-not, I was on the block, and I was like, I should be breaking down right now, but I'm still, and I think too because it was week one and it's still all fresh and exciting, and like, oh, like I'm still so happy, like I haven't even broken down once. So like I think as much as sometimes it like hurt to be like so invested, like there were times when it definitely helped because I could remind myself like, okay, like this is what you wanted, like you're living out a dream regardless of how dire things seem right now or whatever. So like they can go both ways, I would say. But
that's true too. Yeah, there are moments. I mean, even at the end of the game, I still had a moment where I'm like, I'm in the Big Brother house. I wake up in the morning and I forget for a second like where I'm at, and then you realize you're like, oh, I'm on Big Brother. Even coming home now and the whole experience is over, I kind of get what you mean about like not wanting to open up your box. It's like, oh, I just don't want this to be done. Like it was so fun. It was so fun, and we actually got it. Like, I don't know about you, Michael, but how many years you just dream of I mean, because I literally have been applying since I'm 32 now. I've been applying since I was at least 24, like many, many, many years. And I don't
Probably
know.
the same, because I turned 29 in the house. I started applying the summer I was 21. I started applying. So, and I went to like a bunch of open calls and like, and I would put videos in still those years. It's like, it was a journey to get here. So
For sure. And then it's like you just don't want that to go away. Yeah. So when we explain it like that, then it's like, yeah, it is life or death. Like it feels
yeah,
like life or death because it's one of your biggest life dreams and you don't know if it's going to come around again.
yep,
And you finally actually got it. You don't want to do something that's going to screw that up, you know, in any sort of
yeah.
way.
And both of us were in that position week one, where it's like, this very well could be this dream we've had forever, and we are the first, which is your nightmare going in, like to be possibly
Nightmare.
out. And for me, I was just like I was never playing the game like, oh, I just want to make jury. But I was like, if I don't at least make it to jury, like I'm going to be devastated. So I was like,
Yeah.
so then like even in week 3 when we get put up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like here we go again. So, you know.
Because it was your week 5 HOH, right? That we were like, we think jury, we
Yes.
think. And it was Festie Bestie twist. So it was both of us. We
Yep.
knew, okay, we didn't want to count our chickens before they hatch or eggs before they hatch or whatever
Yeah.
the saying is.
Just like, well, you both made jury, and we were like, no, do not say that. We don't know what's gonna happen. I'm not about to get my hopes up and have it like ripped away, like house guests, a twist, and like someone else is coming back in, and there's another, like we were so like,
We were so like, I don't think we hardly talked about it at all, except for just occasionally be like, there's a chance we could be in jury. Like, and I always loved your little mental list that you kept of your milestones. You're like, okay, next milestone is Zingbot. Like, let's
Yep.
check that one off. And did you get through? What was your next milestone? Did you get through all the milestones? And what was the next one? If not,
so I got through like the big ones. Like BB Comics was the last one before. It was like after BB Comics, it would have been like Final Four, finale night, win. So like, you know, the big like experiences, competitions, those things. I got all of those that I was hoping for, but I was like, oh, I still had a couple things that I wanted to.
So it was finale. It was just finale. Oh,
Mhm.
and Michael, those last comps, I know you've seen the comps, I know you've heard about them. Like,
Yeah.
never seen them. You never know. You never know. But it was that was what's cool though, is you got to look back and you got to think about all the things that like we just got to experience and those questions that are answered. And I know that was a huge part of why I wanted to be on the show, is just to know what it's like,
Yep.
what it's like, you know, and say you did that. But oh my gosh, Michael, we could talk all night, but we probably shouldn't because we've already been talking for like 2 hours. But I could talk to you forever, and I miss you so much. Oh my
Well,
gosh.
yeah, we'll have to do this again. I've really enjoyed doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not like, for the record, people, Michael and I text like all the time. It's not that we haven't talked. We just haven't to talk face to face, and we haven't got to talk the game this like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I don't know. Part of me is kind of like, okay, I think I've talked about nearly everything that could possibly be talked about that has to do with this. Other than those like little memories that come up, that's fun to like talk about with you and stuff like that. But I'm kind of excited for Big Brother to like. There's not gonna be celebrity, or did they? They didn't announce it on the finale episode.
Sure. I thought I read somewhere that maybe there isn't this year, but who knows? There could be. But
I know. I'm kind of excited to, because I'm so obsessed with Big Brother. I'm kind of excited to get re-obsessed with something that's not this one anymore.
Yeah.
You know, this one's been talked about.
Canada will have a season coming out this. They do theirs. I think it starts maybe around February or March. So, which I think, because I follow like a bunch of you know, people relate Big Brother Canada players and the host. So if anyone from here is watching from Canada, I see that applications are open. You should definitely apply. But
do it. Oh my gosh, do it so we can talk about you.
Yeah.
We need some new Big Brother to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Michael, I love you. It is so much fun getting to talk with you, and we should do this again.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
All right. Bye, guys. Thanks for joining
Bye.
us.